Sex is meaningless. Strap in, everybody. I'm Stefan with Power of Words podcast. Sex is meaningless. Outside of a marriage, outside of a committed relationship where it has principal spiritual significance, sex is meaningless. Worth nothing, worthless, less than dirt sex is. But we collectively all around us, we want to treat it like currency. We want to treat sex like an exchangeable item on the S&P 500. We want to treat sex like it is a tit for tat adventure, that it is we want to treat sex like it is a token of gratitude. We want to treat sex like it's a token of appreciation. We want to treat sex like it's a crypto token, like it's ApeCoin dropping out of the sky, because not a lot of celebrities knew what an NFT was. Sex is worthless outside of the context of a committed relationship. And you can, not believe that. You can believe that sex has its worth. You could believe that sex has its worthiness and its worthwhileness outside of a marriage, inside of just like a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, whatever the case may be. I mean, more power to you. You could do whatever you want. But what I'm saying is that in a committed relationship, in a marriage, or even moreover in a courtship, that sex is worthless and we're amounting it to less than worthless the more we prioritize our physical enamorability with another person over the idea of communication. Recently, a friend asked me, what's the most important thing in a relationship? And I said intimacy. Now, that sounds crazy, being that I think that sex is worthless and penniless and worth nothing. Intimacy is one of the most important things in any relationship. But associating intimacy with sexuality is half truth. When I come into a room to be with my wife, to spend time with her, and I realize that something's wrong because she snapped at me. She's, maybe I've said something, I've made a joke, and then she's, snapped back with an attitude or a response that indicates, she's had something else to deal with, or I did something that triggered another event within her emotions that allowed her to be like, I was thinking about this other thing you did. So now when you did that thing right now, it kind of made me a little more angry. Now, what she chose to do in that scenario was she chose, her flesh, to react in her flesh, to react in her mind, to react in her emotions. I'm guilty of the same thing. I've reacted in my emotions, been like, no, not right now. Okay. Like, and not so aggressively, but, like not being able to respond because I wasn't able to respond appropriately at the time because I didn't think to. I didn't choose intimacy in that moment, just like my wife did, just like I did in another moment, and just like you don't when you are approached by these situations, either with you or your partner or with your spouse. You have to choose intimacy. I'm not saying to choose, hold on. Let's stop all this right now. Let me get this off really quick, and then we can discuss whatever dynamics happen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to choose intimacy, to choose the love that you have for that person, the affection that you've learned to have with this person, the way that that soothes their spirit, because that comes from intimacy. Associated with the love languages. I know their love language is touch. So, hey, they just went off on you. They just, it just went from 4 to 12 real fast out of 10. Now reach over, it's touch, that, they like being embraced. They like coming in for an embrace. Reach over, touch the hand, hold the hand on the shoulder. That's intimacy. You can't get to the next most important part of a relationship, being communication, until you've approached it with intimacy. Because a lot of people will say communication is the most important. It's the key. I disagree. Intimacy is the most important key, which is why I say that we, as a culture, as a society, are making sex worthless, because we don't approach situations with intimacy first. We approach it with communication. And if we don't want to approach it with communication, we approach it with sexuality. We say, hey, you know what? Make up sex, break up sex, hot sex, angry sex, kitchen sex, because we couldn't decide what we want for dinner. You know what? Sex, and sex has its place 100% in every relationship, God-fearing relationship, a secular relationship, whatever the sex is. Sex has a place. It is ordained by God. Sex is within a marriage. It is necessary. It is needed. But what is not needed is a disassociation with communication, being that, oh, we did communicate, we had a dialogue because we had sex, so everything's okay now, right? She let me in the bedroom, she let me in the door. I'm like, my husband, he's doing a lot better because I went in and I took care of him. I went in and took care of him sexually, so now I don't have to take care of him emotionally. Guess what? Your man still has the same problem that he had 5 minutes ago. The only difference is now he's a little bit more relaxed. You cannot trade sex as currency inside, outside of a relationship because it makes it worthless. It is worthwhile. It is a part and a principal aspect to every single relationship, but you make it penniless, worthless, unimportant when you don't put the importance on greater intimacy first. Because when you have intimacy, when you have the understanding of choosing intimacy, now that opens the window to communication, which then opens the door to having that importance in a sexual relationship with your partner.